Hello and welcome to this brand new episode where we are going to discuss diversions and off-course. Off-course vehicles are designed to allow you to drive on rough terrain when you choose to leave the road. What do you do in a conversation when it moves off course? There is a discussion on the economy of Egypt. Somehow the point is raised as to whether Egyptians today are the same race as the ancient Egyptians who built the pyramids. This leads on to Cleopatra. There is a story about Mark Antony, who, when he was wooing Cleopatra, used to fish in the Nile before dinner. Cleopatra would pay divers to go down and put fish on Mark Antony's hooks, so that when he returned with all these fish, she could congratulate him on his sporting ability. "They don't make women like that anymore," sighs someone, and the conversation now proceeds to feminism. That's a quite long way from the Egyptian economy. How should you deal with diversions? Should you cut them off immediately and say, "We are discussing the Egyptian economy today, never mind about Cleopatra"? Or, "Let's get back to the subject we are talking about"? Perhaps you should enjoy the diversion, wherever it may lead. Maybe stories about Cleopatra are more interesting than the economy of Egypt today. Purpose. Much depends on the purpose of the discussion. Is this social cocktail party chat? Or a serious attempt to explore a problem? The practical rules is as follows. If the purpose of the discussion is serious, and if there is every intention to return to the main focus, then diversions can be permitted, provided there are not too many of them. It would be dull and boring to clamp down hard on any diversion. If the purpose of the discussion is amusement and interest, then follow the diversions until you find a point that seems of interest to both parties. Pause and explore that point. There is no need to suppose that the starting focus is going to be the most interesting one. If you are driving along a road and you are not in a great hurry to get to some destination, why not stop to follow interesting side roads? If, however, you change focus too often and too rapidly, then there is not much a chance to develop interest in any area. It is like moving from a person to person at a party and never pausing long enough to strike up a conversation. Boring. There are two reasons a conversation can become boring. The first is that no one has anything to say about the subject. The second reason is that what is said is routine, trite, and expected. Both reasons are the direct fault of those involved in the conversation or discussion. Whatever the subject, it should be possible to find something interesting to say. There could be guesses, there could be speculations, there could be questions. You should be able to have an interesting discussion, even if it is rather short, about the mating habits of the hippopotamus. You do not need to be a biologist to do so. On the way, you might, as a diversion, mention that the hippopotamus marks its territory by rotating its short tail very rapidly and emptying its bowels at the same time. The excrement is thus scattered over a wide area when the shit hits the fan. Does the male hippopotamus have a harem of ladies rather than a stag or a walrus? Do a male and female pair off forever or for the season? Is there a dominant male as in chimpanzees? What is the possible model? In exploring the possible model, you can bring in your knowledge of other models in the animal kingdom. Does the female hippopotamus choose the male on the basis of strength, or perhaps beauty, as in the bird world? Is the female faithful, or does she have a number of mates? Is it true that for the lack of specific information, such a discussion might range rather widely over general zoological behavior rather than stick specifically to the hippopotamus species? Such a broadening of the focus is inevitable if not much specific information is available. Conventional. Protest marches shown on television usually show each party with their traditional slogans confronting each other. Unfortunately, there are a lot of conversations and discussions that use the same format. Each party has its fixed and usually conventional views, and each party confronts the other and seeks to make its views prevail. In spite of what education may claim, the type of argument or debate is not really very interesting. An exchange of views is interesting, but only if each party is genuinely interested in the views of the other. Why do we have different points of view? What is the essence of the difference between our points of view? Are these different points of view based on different values, different experience, or different information? The difference is between battle and explore. The repetition of conventional points of view is boring unless there is an effort to reconcile the points of view and to design a way forward. These are the standard points of view. Now, how do we advance forward? Is it a matter of one or other of us being right, or can we make progress? If you never change your mind, why have one? If you never changed your mind, you could just have a sign saying, "Same thinking as last month, same ideas too." In the same way, repetition of standard positions is not so interesting. There is a need to suggest new ideas. There is a need to open up areas with more doubt and to explore these. The intention should be that at the end of the conversation, both parties go away with more than they had at the beginning. In a discussion on globalization, you might have the opinion that workers in emerging markets are being exploited because the workers they paid is low compared to the final sale price of the product. That is one position. The other position is that if workers are paid what is relatively high wage for their own economy, then this is of great benefit to them. If wages were not lower than in the developed countries, then the work would not have come there in the first place. Would it be better to have high wages but no work? Both points of view can be argued strongly. An attempt could be made to design ways forward. Either party could suggest such ways forward. The final price of the product could be lowered to reflect the lower wage component, for instance. This would benefit consumers, but would put other manufacturers out of business and eventually other workers too. Another idea would be to take some of the profits due to the low wages and put them into a special aid fund to help in education or health in the district where the work was done. A new idea may not be acceptable and may not even be feasible. What matters is that the idea is an attempt to go beyond mere repetition of conventional positions. Does this mean that winning argument is not important? Exploring the subject honestly and thoroughly and coming to a conclusion is probably more important than just proving your point. It is important to win the argument, then try to introduce some new considerations. Just repeating the old stuff is indeed boring. Humor. Humor is a very important part of having a beautiful mind. Humor has several functions. Humor lightens things up and adds more fun. Humor is half serious and allows things to be said which might or might not be taken seriously. The listener can choose whether or not to take the suggestion seriously. In this respect, humor has the same value as a provocation in lateral creative thinking. Humor also allows speculation. Something may not be very likely, but it is just possible. For example, maybe we should have beauty police. There is a seaside town in Italy that has a beauty police. If you do not look good in a bikini, you are not allowed to wear one. When specific jokes are introduced, they should be relevant and make a point. A joke that is just dragged in with no relevance is an irritating intrusion. Fantasy is a form of humor. Through rather absurd exaggeration, a point can be made. If an executive is in the habit of micromanaging everything, you could say he or she wants to know every time someone puts fuel into his or her car. No one would believe that it would be true, but it does make a point, as does, Old Joel would not recognize the new idea, even if it wore a bright pink tutu and did handstands in front of him. There is the mistaken belief that everything in a serious conversation should be deadly serious. This is not so at all. A totally serious conversation may be so boring that no one remembers what was said. A change of pace and tone make for better understanding and better retention. Enjoyment. You should enjoy the use of your mind and other people's use of their minds. Being right is not the only form of enjoyment. Putting forward new ideas and new insights is enjoyable. So is listening to new ideas and new insights. Finding new ways of looking at something is enjoyable. So is information. Conversation is like a dance. It is more fun dancing with someone else, a dance of the mind. If your dancing partner knows the steps, if your dancing partners know the steps, it is even more enjoyable. In the same way, if other people know the rules of conversation, the process is more enjoyable. If they do not know the rules, they may spend the time trying hard to convince you that they are right. Many people enjoy sport. They enjoy the use of body for some trivial purpose, like getting a ball into the net. It is the activity that matters, not the purpose. Why should not people enjoy the use of their minds in this sporty way? Why not enjoy the sheer pleasure of thinking? Rodin, in his famous statue, The Thinker, did thinking a great disservice by showing thinking as heavy and solemn. It can also be light and fun. Now let's summarize diversions and off-course. The main purpose of the discussion will determine whether diversions are acceptable or not. When the purpose is very serious, then diversions may be less acceptable. Provided diversions are not too long and that there is a return to the main focus, diversions add enjoyment to any discussion and should be welcomed. A discussion will always be boring if no one has anything to say about the subject. It is important to develop the habit of interest, which allows you to find any subject interesting. Where there is not much information, interest can be created by questions and by speculation. There can also be references to known subject areas. Just repeating conventional ideas can also be boring. Doing battle with one set of ideas against another is boring. Where there are strong differences of opinion, it becomes interesting to explore the basis for that difference. It may be possible to reconcile opposing views, or at least to make clear the actual difference. New ideas are also welcome at any conversation, because they are new and provide an escape from the usual thinking. An idea can provide a provocation, even if the idea is not feasible. Humor is a very important ingredient and a key feature of the beautiful mind. Humor allows speculation and enables things to put forward as half serious and half humorous. Humor permits exaggeration. Humor permits exaggeration and absurdity to make a serious point. Conversation and discussion should be as enjoyable for the mind as sport is for the body. This brings us to the end of this episode. In the next episode, we are going to discuss information and knowledge.